is Caitlin Clark being frustrated. Caitlin Clark wanted to come back. Word on the street, front office, even Stephanie White said it down in Phoenix. She stated, we are worried about the long-term health of Caitlin Clark. That has been the topic. That has been all they worried about.
Caitlin Clark, the superstar who dragged the Indiana Fever from irrelevance to playoff contention, has been benched. Yet not by rivals or time, but by her own front office. The very executives who owe her everything are now trying to sideline the face of women's basketball. But Clark isn't staying quiet. She's fired up, defiant, and sending a bold message. No one benches Caitlin Clark. Not now, not ever.
Is Caitlin Clark not playing because she's hurt? She can't come back? Or is she not playing because the organization chose to bench her for the rest of the year? Because Stephanie White has come out and made some comments, and I don't like what I'm hearing.
Indiana Fever are back in the playoffs for the second straight year, riding a franchise record 23 wins, and their first winning season since 2015. But here's the twist. Guess who won't be suiting up for the biggest games of the year? The very player who made it all possible. The one who transformed empty arenas into sold-out events, whose name alone fills seats and cashes checks. Caitlin Clark has been ruled out for the rest of the season, including playoffs, and she's absolutely furious.
Indiana Fever are having a tough time covering the tracks to the dirty games they played and screwing over the fans and sabotaging Caitlin Clark this season. Everybody is on to the dirty games that the WNBA and the Indiana Fever have played this season, manipulating the people and using Caitlin Clark for money and using her fans. Stephanie White has been exposed. Lexi Hall confirms that Caitlin Clark was ready to play and that the team made the decision to keep her out while she was ready to play.
The official excuse? Long-term health. The front office claims they're protecting the crown jewel, bubble wrapping Caitlin Clark for some vague future that somehow outweighs the present. They're practically congratulating themselves for being cautious, expecting fans to cheer while they sideline the one-woman highlight reel who single-handedly dragged this franchise back into relevance.
What stood out to you about Caitlin and kind of the ray of emotion she probably felt as you came to this decision?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, number one, just all the injuries that she's had. Obviously, I wouldn't speak for her, but and the amount of work that she's put in to position herself to be able to play and then to, have to ultimately make this decision. There's disappointment. There's the obvious frustration that's come with not being healthy really for an entire season. But ultimately, I think the big picture is the most important thing, and those are conversations that we've continued to have. And the message has continued to be that it's not her long-term health and wellness and her being 100% when she's ready to go is the most important thing.
Caitlin Clark isn't just another name on the injury list. She's a reason the Indiana Fever matter. For 7 straight years, this franchise was a punchline, nowhere close to playoff relevance. Then Clark arrived and everything changed. Overnight, the Fever went from basement dwellers to playoff contenders, packing arenas, dominating headlines, and putting women's basketball back in the national conversation. She didn't just join the team, she transformed it.
Caitlin Clark strapped on her hard hat and steel-toed boots and revolutionized the game of pretend basketball. She turned this previously unmonetizable turd into a league that's getting dangerously close to losing their charity status. Because of Caitlin Clark, the WNBA is on the verge of generating pesos and profit for the first time ever. She brought mainstream attention to a league that never had a chance of breaking into the mainstream. She brought a new fan base. For the first time, people were actually willing to spend money to watch the WNBA.
And how do the suits repay her? By telling her to sit this dance out. That's not just a tactical blunder. It's borderline disrespect. You don't sideline the main character right when the story gets good. It's like cutting the superhero out of the Marvel finale because the director's worried about wear and tear.
I'm all for the long-term health, but you got to be a player-first organization. And if that player is ready to return, she's cleared by the doctors. She's cleared by these damn doctors to play. Been cleared by the doctors to play. Let her fucking play. I am sorry. Y'all sitting up here, donkey and a damn carried everybody, wanting to get all the money you can off one day. It's one day at a time. One day at a time. All this BS y'all doing is ridiculous. And Indiana, you're looking spooky. You're looking spooky. I am sorry. I am sick of this.
For nearly 2 months, the Fever front office dangled hope in front of fans like a carrot before a racehorse. Day to day, they said. We're taking it slow, they promised. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark was grinding, hours in the gym, locked in on one goal, getting back on the court. She was running non-contact drills, participating in shoot-arounds, clearly preparing to return and carry her team to glory. But then came the gut punch. The suits upstairs, those same people who've been riding the Caitlin Clark gravy train from the start, decided they knew better. They shut her down, not because she couldn't play, not because doctors objected, but because they wanted to protect her long-term health. Translation? They were protecting their investment, even if it meant sabotaging their best shot at championship.
Instead of allowing Caitlin Clark to elevate the league, WNBA players were overtaken with powerful feelings of jealousy. They resented her. They wanted her to go away. And this season, and especially over the last couple of months, WNBA players have gotten exactly what they wanted. After 2 years of claiming that the WNBA is about more than one player, unknown dump divers were finally given the opportunity to prove it. As expected, the end result has been huge, embarrassing failure.
Clark released a statement that should send chills down the spine of every executive in that front office. I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every single day with one goal, getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I'm feeling. Read that again. Disappointed isn't a big enough word. This is Caitlin Clark, the woman who thrives under pressure that would crush most athletes, the face of women's basketball, the player who has carried not just her team, but the league itself into the spotlight. She took a franchise that had become the laughingstock of the WNBA and transformed them into legitimate playoff contenders. She filled arenas, broke attendance records, shattered viewership numbers, and turned the Indiana Fever into a national conversation for the first time in nearly a decade. And how did the Suits repay her? By benching her during the single most critical stretch of games in franchise history. For Clark, it's more than a setback. For Indiana, it's a betrayal.
The Fever fan base has lost so much trust in the Fever organization this year, and not only from the injury reporting, but it stems from the injury reporting. There's been some very, very weird injury reports this season, and the math isn't mathing. And I've also been one to defend the organization to a certain extent because you don't always want to give away too much information. And I've placed a lot of the blame on the reporters. I'm like, how are the reporters not able to get to the bottom of this and at least give us something?
The front office rolled out their excuse. We're putting no timetable on it. The most important thing is Caitlin's long-term health. How noble, how considerate, and how utterly insulting to a competitor like Clark. This is the same woman who has played through adversity her entire career. Never missing a game at Iowa, never missing a game her rookie WNBA season. But now, suddenly, the Suits think they know her body better than she does. Here's the truth they don't want you to hear. Clark was participating in team activities. She was running 5-on-0 drills with the squad. Medical experts even called out the day-to-day narrative as misleading, pointing out her absence suggested a week-to-week recovery, not a catastrophic injury. Yet the front office hit the panic button anyway, shutting down their franchise star when she was this close to returning.
It's a sabotage job, you guys. Flat out, point blank, period. You guys have not been open and up front. You guys have talked about long-term health and wellness. You guys have not been up front with the injuries, with the injury report, with the timetable. You guys left this girl listed as day-to-day and questionable for months at a time. That is not being upfront with the people. It's not. It's not. It's not. You guys hid an injury, an ankle injury, for weeks. You guys hid an ankle injury for weeks. Stop.
And how did Clark respond to this betrayal? With pure, unfiltered honesty. Asterisk, this has been incredibly frustrating. But even in the bad, there is good. The way the fans continue to show up for me and for the Fever has brought me so much joy and perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through adversity. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot Did you catch it? She thanked the fans. She praised her teammates. But not a single word of appreciation for front office, the very people who pulled the plug on her season. That silence was an oversight. It was a message. Clark knows exactly who's responsible for keeping her off the court.
She hurt her ankle in August. That was really the dagger over the season. But also, they had no idea when that groin injury would have healed. See, this is the part that's frustrating with these guys, is that why can't they just say mid-grade to a 3? Just tell the truth. Was it a 1? Was it a 2? Was it a 3? Was it a 1, but she re-aggravated in practice or something? Did they over-push her or something?
Here's where it gets downright infuriating. The Indiana Fever needed Caitlin Clark. They locked up the 7th seed with a commanding 94-65 beatdown of the Washington Mystics. But now they're marching into the postseason without their superstar, their engine, their identity, their box office draw. Fans are already questioning the team's chances without her, and who can blame them? The front office keeps preaching about protecting Clark's future. Fine, but what about protecting the franchise's future? What about the thousands of fans who bought playoff tickets expecting to see the Caitlin Clark show? What about the TV ratings that will nosedive without the league's biggest attraction? Instead,
I miss it too. Y'all want to know why Caitlin Clark said this? Because Caitlin Clark never wanted to sit out. Caitlin Clark wanted to come back. Caitlin Clark wanted to come back, and they're treating her like she's property. That's what the Indiana Fever is doing. She's their property now. And since Caitlin Clark can have the say on whether she can play basketball or not, which is completely damn me ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. If she can play and she want to play, let her fucking play.
Caitlin Clark's statement cut deeper than the front office probably expected. She said, asterisk, I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. Asterisk, read that again. Everyone who had her back. Not the organization. Not the executives who pulled the plug. Just the people who truly stood beside her. That's a sharp, undeniable dig at those who abandoned her when it mattered most. Because this isn't simply about a player missing the playoffs. It's about respect. It's about acknowledging what Clark has meant. Not just to the Fever, but to the entire WNBA. She's been the league's golden goose. The reason arenas are packed and TV ratings are smashing records. And her reward? Getting benched by suits who've never even stepped on the floor. The worst part? Clark was ready. She'd been working, rehabbing, grinding, doing everything asked of her. But instead of trusting a competitor who's never backed down, the front office decided they knew better. They chose fear over fire, caution over championships. And that choice may haunt them.
So by making the playoffs and by shutting down Caitlin Clark, it means that they fully believe Caitlin Clark is not going to be an asset to this team, and they would rather go into the playoffs with Bree Hall on the roster than with a Caitlin Clark. And I don't know if it's a situation of, like, they would rather do that than go in with Caitlin Clark, and they would rather go in not have the headache of Caitlin Clark. It straight up seems that this front office, whether it be coach down, they do not want the headache of constant Caitlin Clark questions in the playoffs.
Caitlin Clark's words cut deeper than they seemed. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. Notice, she thanked everyone who had her back, not the front office. That omission was no accident. It was a quiet but pointed dig at the people who didn't stand by her when it counted most. This isn't just about Clark missing the playoffs. It's about respect. It's about acknowledging her impact on this franchise and the league itself. She is the WNBA's golden goose, the reason arenas sell out and ratings break records. Her reward? Being benched by executives who've never played a minute at her level. And here's the kicker. Clark was ready. She worked. She rehabbed. She followed every instruction. Yet the front office overruled her, choosing fear over ambition. Instead of letting her compete, they sidelined greatness. And that choice may haunt this franchise far longer than any injury ever could.
I missed this so bad. Caitlin Clark's message on her Instagram story. I missed this so bad. It's just a tough thing to process, I'm sure, for her as well. And then the way it went down, it wasn't like a sudden thing, which in the long run is better, right? I mean, it's better that it wasn't an ACL or an Achilles or one of these injuries that's going to sideline her for a prolonged period of time. But the hope of her return, and then the ankle injury, messing everything up in the process of that and making it so she couldn't return. It has to be burning her up inside.
WNBA had a star come in that has not had this much impact on a sport since Tiger Woods. That is how big Caitlin Clark is. That is the global impact, and it's not just an American impact. That's the global impact that Caitlin Clark has had on this league. The amount of eyeballs, attendance, all of the things. We've been over all of it. The Caitlin Clark effect, Clarkonomics, whatever you want to call it. At this point in time, if you're still denying that, I don't know what to say. You're not living in reality. Unfortunately, though, there are still people at this point in time who are still denying that. When Caitlin Clark went out with injury in the beginning of the season, the viewership dropped over 50%.
Caitlin Clark deserved better. The fans deserve better. And when the Indiana Fever stumble through the playoffs without their superstar, there will be no confusion about where the blame lies. Not on bad luck. Not on her injury. The fault belongs to a front office that chose fear over faith, and in doing so, denied greatness a chance to shine when it mattered most. Disappointed isn't nearly strong enough. This moment deserves something heavier. Fans dreamed of Clark leading the Fever in her first postseason, rewriting history, and giving Indiana a real shot at something bigger. Instead, we're left with what-ifs. The executives may have thought they were playing it safe, but in truth, they played themselves. Clark will return next season, no question. And when she does, expect fire. You thought she had a chip on her shoulder before? Now she's carrying the whole damn casino. Meanwhile, the Fever will learn a brutal lesson. You don't bench your golden goose. Clip her wings, and you're left with nothing but eggs. And here's the truth. Nobody buys tickets for eggs. If management doesn't grasp that, they'd better get used to silence.